If a picture could say 1,000 words, can a video say 1,000,000? Wow, Coach Sage Canaday here with another training talk. We're going to talk about my ankle sprain rehab. About 3 weeks ago, a little less than 3 weeks ago, I was running pretty fast down the west ridge of Bear Peak, one of my favorite trails in Boulder, setting a CR segment on STRAVA, fastest time down the second half of that descent, and I twisted my ankle. I rolled it pretty hard. I was being kind of clumsy, kind of caught the outside of my pinky toes on my right foot, kind of rolled over it, and it was the worst ankle sprain I've ever encountered in my 22 years of running. Trail running, it's always a risk, but I was being clumsy, going pretty fast, maybe under 6-minute mile pace, which on a single track trail feels like 5-minute mile pace, and it was hard. It was a hard sprain, but it wasn't a big sprain tear, right? You know right away, because if you've really twisted your ankle hard playing basketball or running or soccer or some other sport probably, you know, it's gonna tear the ligaments pretty bad, or tendons, and you're not gonna be able to walk. Like, I watched my dad once do it playing badminton. He jumped up in the air, landed with his heel twisted out, and put full weight on it, jumping up in there, tore the ligaments. He just went down. He didn't get back up right away, and then he was in a cast and crutches for a while. But I digress. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. You know, ankle sprains vary in their severity, and you could kind of tell because I was able to limp it off after a couple of minutes and even keep running on it, which I do not advise because I ran like another 10 miles, 16K on it. But, you know, you limp it off, you kind of it gets stiff, you kind of, you know, it happens in races sometimes. Those are minor ankle sprains, and granted, after I was done running, it got swollen, twice as big as my other ankle, kind of like a balloon, and then the next couple days it started bruising. You could see some of the foam clips there after 3 days of what it looked like, but I'm able to walk on it. I'm able to walk on it. There's still a little pain and a little stiffness, which is the point of this talk, but it's not something where I can't put weight on it. I could still walk on it, and I've chosen not to run on it though because I do want to give it extra rest, because running, you know, if you're limping a bit and you start running, it could throw other things off in your form. So you have to rate the severity of your ankle sprain and the recovery, and so this point of the talk is the recovery process of it. So first thing is I need to stop running, right? I was limping afterwards, it was in pain, it was swelling up. So first couple days, first 1 to 3 days, we go with the acronym RICE, R-I-C-E, rest, ice, compression, elevate. And so rest, obviously not running, maybe not even putting weight on the ankle, because it's going to be ballooning up, it's swelling pretty bad, and we're going to elevate it, that's the elevation part, put our feet up, kick back, compress it with some ice to reduce that inflammation, reduce some of that swelling, and that's especially important in the first couple days after the injury. So you could, and this is just my opinion, non-medical, non-professional advice here, you could take a acetaminophen type of pain pill, inflammation reducer. Again, consult your doctor before trying anything new. This advice is not meant to cure, prevent, or treat any disease. But yeah, I just took one of those, and that's kind of to help reduce the inflammation and some of the pain. It's not something I would rely on a lot though, personally. Again, this really depends on the severity of the sprain, but if you could walk on it without too much pain, and after several days swelling's going down, it's not as bruised looking, again, depends on how severe it is, because if you really tore something, you might need professional medical help and a much longer recovery. But in my case, I'm able to walk around after a couple days, not comfortable really putting a lot of weight and running on it hard, but able to walk around without a limp. Then we're gonna work on mobility to get that flexion back. It's getting a little stiff. There's probably gonna be some scar tissue there. We wanna make sure that we gently work into that dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. This is my ankle, it's my hand, but it's really my ankle. To make sure that that joint stays mobile, and that when we do return to running, it's not all stiff and limited in its flexibility. So you have to be careful and gradually work into this, because you probably have some micro tears going on, and that healing process is a process of you know, several weeks probably. So again, depends on the severity of your ankle sprain, but in my case, we're going to start doing some gentle mobility stuff, which I'll show you just some stretching of the calf, but also putting the ankle up in the air, spelling out, flexing your toes, pointing your toes up and down, right? Seeing how that feels. Maybe using a mobility board to kind of get some rotational in there, very controlled environment, to eventually being able to spell out the alphabet, actually pointing your toes in the air like you're writing out the letters of the English language, A, B, C, D, etc., all the way through, and just getting that range of motion going. So balancing exercises, single leg balancing, like if I was doing a single leg deadlift motion, which is good for the glutes and hamstrings anyway, but just the act of balancing on one leg and stabilizing the pelvis, learning to do that again is real great for activating yourself at the neuromuscular level, but also helping build that strength and flexibility that you'll need for the dexterity and the coordination for running downhill on technical trails, or even just running fast on a track or road. That's kind of my tips for that before we return to very light running, maybe not even any fast running, but downhill running for sure. And then to also strengthen that shin area, the outside of the shin area, and figure out what caused that ankle roll in the first place. Was I just being clumsy, or do I have some weaknesses and instability? My balance isn't as good, and I could strengthen some of my shin muscles and the sheath around the shin on the outside of the ankle to help prevent future rolls when we're trying to fly down trails or mountains heading into the future. And yeah, just relaxing, doing non-impact cross training. If you've seen my Strava, you've seen I've been riding the bike a lot, still trying to stay fit and in shape. But that's my talk on the ankle sprain recovery. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy out there. Thanks again for all the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Title sponsor Hoka One One, keeping the dream alive. Be sure to subscribe on here for more of these types of training talks, running form analyses, strength training, as well as general vlogging and running related content. Been doing this for over 12 years here on the YouTube. Big prize giveaways at 200,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you're doing well. Stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.